Pay close attention, Seb, because I want to talk to you about Mexico.
Gonna educate me.
Educate you. So recently, like a couple of months ago, Mexico have banned geoengineering. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What does geoengineering sound to you?
Geoengineering to me sounds like something atmospheric, I would assume, but I don't really know much about it, so you can teach me the ways.
I'll broaden your way. Let me move the mics around in this one.
This is a professional setup.
Professional.
We know what we're doing.
So, experiments.
That sounds scary.
Tinfoil hat. Proper tinfoil hat. Won't put on just yet.
Never wear it for the whole episode.
So, like, I would for this first half. So, they don't know who it is. Mexico's government haven't done it at all. But someone has been doing experiments over headspace and blocking sun. Okay?
Right.
So they're basically trying to prevent Mexico getting hotter, sort of thing.
Interesting.
So they're controlling the sun.
Yeah.
Like you said, it sounds like some top evil genius plan.
It does sound like the sort of thing Dr. Evil would do.
100%.
Blot out the sun upon the earth.
But if we go with this, we saw a TikTok video that created that there was a guy who was saying about chemtrails. Now chemtrails, like conspiracy theorist sort of thing now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take a picture of loads of chemtrails, right? And this is where it really gets to me, and I think it's fucking brilliant. So that's a chemtrail.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can show the photo into this. That's a chemtrail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what conspiracy theorists say is a chemtrail.
Cool.
Right. And then if we do a geoengineering aircraft, I know it says it at the bottom. It says conspiracy theorist chemtrail. But if we go back and we look at another one, that isn't chemtrailing. That's geoengineering.
Dare I ask what the difference is?
Not a clue. I can personally tell you what the difference is. There must be some sort of thing that they put into it or whatever they do. Now, I don't want to go too much down the path.
Down the rabbit hole.
A rabbit hole of this conspiracy theorists of chemtrails and geoengineering. So what we can tell from a broad perspective, like I've just shown you, geoengineering is when they control or manipulate the way that the heat of the planet is to heat up in certain areas, so they can create storms. You know, like we've all seen it in Simpsons and American Dad.
Yeah,
the CIA controlling the weather.
Yes.
You know, and who's right and who's wrong? I want to know what's going on here. Like, now that Mexico are banning this, is this now the conspiracy theorists right? Because this was spoke about 20 odd years ago.
So weirdly, is this something that was legal? Like, I know they've obviously banned it, but was this something that was...
It was being done without laws.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. So there weren't really any laws to say yes or no before. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, there aren't laws for something that hasn't been done yet, is there?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So
Because it definitely sounds like it should be illegal, or at the very least, sort of controlled in some way, because it does sound a little bit dangerous.
My biggest question is people will say this, it's something to do with the temperature of the aircraft coming from the jet engine propulsion meeting the cold air and hot air during times of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So on a warm morning, when you start up your petrol car, you'll get fumes.
Yeah.
And you'll get fluid that comes out the exhaust.
Yeah.
Okay, so you being a mechanic who's done that, you would know that is problematic. That is a hot engine with hot air fumes reaching a cold environment. Hence why you don't see it in the summer.
Yeah.
But let me stop you there. The air is thinner, correct, as we get further out.
Yeah.
As we get more into our atmosphere and stratospheres and all the other layers, it thins out. Hence why there's no oxygen and everything like that. So if the air's colder up there anyway, why don't we see it during the day or at night time?
Interesting.
Why is it in the beginning of the day?
I would be interested to know the difference in temperature that high up.
Massively.
If it really changes much at all.
If it's a lot at all, exactly.
I mean, if I was to guess, I'd say it probably wouldn't.
I
don't know.
I know that pilots inside their cabs, their cockpits, when they're in the fighter jets, that they have like emergency their jump kits all all warm. They wear their breathing apparatus and everything up there. Let's take, for instance, for today. Yesterday was gorgeous weather. Hot day. Not a cloud in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Today, cloud.
It is.
Rest of the week, cloud.
It's pretty grim out there today.
How the hell have we gone from one day of feeling like it was 28 degrees, where my head was burning from being in the garden, putting out garden equipment?
It was very warm.
Yeah, and we're having a barbecue and everything, to the point where it is pissing down with rain today.
Wake up the next day and it's just like showers outside. Yeah.
I wanted to really pick on this in this episode because I'm seeing lots of it at the moment, lots of it being brought in. We're getting more to the time now. We're getting time running out. The big clock's running out, isn't it? Global warming.
Yeah.
You know, climate. It's no longer global warming. It's no longer the big freeze. It's now climate change. They made a word that highlighted all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Where does this go, and where does it fit into this category? Are they putting stuff in the air that's creating and making everything cooler or more rain and heat, or are they doing the reverse? Are they trying to make it worse? To make us all
crazy?
To go for, to get the electric car, to, I don't know, stop buying meat.
Oh, so in your thinking, sort of like they're going to kind of temporarily make it worse so that everyone's fast-tracked into making things better in the long run?
Yeah, 100%.
I can kind of see
it's
that.
the next level, isn't it? Everyone had the
like
diesel engine. What's next?
What is it people say, where the ends justify the means sort of thing? Kind of forcing people to take action. I mean, I can kind of see that being the truth.
Well, we were all told, I wasn't specifically told, you weren't specifically told, but the generation before us were told diesel engine is the best way. And it was the first car of the manufacturing that had to have the downward facing exhaust because emissions went to the ground. Now if you look at a diesel car, they point out straight. Why? I know that the emissions have been changed as engines got better in time, they got more economical and they got less fumes, and we got the DPF, now we got AdBlue going involved with cars. But what are you trying to do here?
Do you reckon that could just be a simple matter of that small decline in exhaust made no real difference whatsoever?
Not at all.
Do you not reckon?
Yeah, as time and technology goes on, our engines are going to get better, aren't they?
Yeah, of
we've noticed that. Like, we've got a small engine car, and it's got the power of like an old Subaru.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, back in the day, it was fast, but now you've got the same horsepower and a smaller engine. I get that. I get that we're moving closer with technology when we're getting better, our engineering's better. I mean, you take McLaren, for example, their engines are made in like a full airlock sealed environment. Like, not a blade of hair can be in that setting.
Yeah.
Or you'll put like the measurements out or something.
That's so precise.
Yeah, precise, and the engineers have to wear full vacuum suits and stuff like that, masks, gloves, cotton gloves, can't have hands, or oil from our skin, cause like the major minuscule detail problem of a car or something. I get that, but what is it now? If Mexico are banning something like this, who's right? Who's been right all along?
It does seem like the sort of thing that's kind of, the ban has kind of come out of nowhere. Because before we spoke earlier, this isn't something I've ever really heard of before.
No.
So it's kind of interesting it would get to the point where a government, like Mexico, could go ahead and ban it.
They are banning geoengineering.
But this must have been something that's been in the pipeline for a while.
Well, they're saying that environmentalists, they're saying this could be a risk to global warming, climate change.
Yeah.
They're saying it could be a risk to it. But if it's such a risk, why is it the Mexican government banning it if it's going to have an implication on climate change? Why is that? What is it? It makes you wonder, because we're struggling enough as it is with crop. We've got the war in the far east of Europe. We've got Ukraine and Russia. They're at war with each other. As much as you want to talk about that, and as much as we want to divulge about that, we're trying to stay away from that. It's nothing to do with us. We have we can sit all day and talk about that. Crop comes from Ukraine, our wheat, and stuff like that. So we've got to look at other resources at this point. But it's almost like, no, everything's got to come from one place. Then when that one place goes to hell, we all suffer.
That is essentially the equivalent of putting all your eggs in one basket, which is stupid.
We took all of our oil and gas from Russia.
There's essentially no redundancy there, which is silly. I mean, as someone who works on servers and makes websites, redundancy is the number one thing you need.
No, you don't.
Like, you
want
don't
that.
just have one server and if it goes down, it's all gone to shit. You have backups, you have redundancy servers,
Exactly.
you have proxies, like...
And you may not even have them in one location.
No, that's what I mean. You have distributed servers across the world. You don't just have one server in your cupboard that runs your entire infrastructure. Like, that'd be stupid.
Exactly. You're going to have, like, your other peers in the company that are going to be in different parts of the world. They're going to require, because they're going to have access here and there, and obviously for their system. And then, obviously, you can be able to access stuff from here to there as well, you know. And it says it with everything. Has it got to a point where Mexico is actually struggling with making crop, food, weather? You know, has it got to? If that is what's happening, I mean, and who is doing it? Got to be the U.S. government.
That is an interesting one. I mean, why would someone want to do it? I mean, I imagine if this is really, say, this conspiracy is real, and there really is someone, you know, pushing this, it makes you wonder how deep down the rabbit hole this would really go as to
100%.
why someone would want to do this. Because I would imagine if someone was trying to do this on purpose, it would go so many layers deep to get to the real reason why they're doing it
before it becomes a conspiracy.
I imagine it's, you know, ironically, if it's true, it's probably nothing to do with crops. It probably goes back 10 layers deeper.
It could be even worse.
So
it could be something we don't even know about. It could be something that Mexico have been doing. You know, it could be something to try and fight the drug cartel. You don't know.
It's probably going to be, if it's true, it's going to be something crazy like the specific wheat grown in Mexico. Like there's a specific like protein in it or something.
That we will rely on.
Something crazy
and they want to genetically make it somewhere else.
Yeah.
But like you say, how far down the rabbit hole does it get before you end up wearing something like this? How far does it go down the line till you're wearing something like this and people are on the street and you're preaching that the government controls everything?
Can you see yourself one day ever being on the streets with a big old billboard like a crazy man?
The world's coming to end.
Yeah, have you ever seen Watchmen?
Yeah.
Where the guy, Rorschach, he's without his mask on, he's like, the end is nigh.
The end is nigh. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, when is it getting to a point where if Mexico are banning that, the Mexican government are banning that, why is this going hidden as well?
I mean, do you think
this started in the early January of this year?
It's not something you hear about, is it? It's obviously it's not being pumped into the mainstream media at all. It's being kept out of that, which is kind of weird.
But it wouldn't be.
They don't. Quite a big ban, doesn't it? Not to report.
Well, one, that's they're stopping an aircraft for two. For one, and you don't know what these aircrafts are because they're majority of the time they're unmarked, I believe. Obviously they have their tail fin numbers, but they're unmarked.
Yeah.
You know, like most of our flights that we see coming in and out of the country, you'll see big brand writing on it: EasyJet, British Airways, Ryanair, whatever. You know, Qatar. These are aircraft that are unmarked. They've got they've got a tail number. You know, there's a lot of boffins out there of aircraft that'd be able to depict which aircraft it is.
Kind of makes you wonder if the Mexican government have banned this because, well, I assume they banned it for two reasons. Well, one of two reasons. One is they know why it's being done and they want to stop it. Or two, they've noticed it, they're scared and they're trying to stop it because they don't understand. Well, which one of those is it? I mean, do they know what's going on? And they're like,
exactly.
Cut this shit out.
I mean, I was showing you an article before and you laughed. Mexico's banned all attempts to block the sun.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like you say some stupid plan.
It's like some Dr. Evil shit from Austin Powers trying to blot out the sun on the earth.
And you can go read this. This is Popular Mechanics, and this was uploaded January 23rd, 2023 by Darren Orff, I think his name is. So if I say that wrong. Blocking the sun. So Mexico's banned solar geoengineering experiments after a startup set sulfur dioxide in the stratosphere. Now, why would you create a headline like that? I know it's going to glue you in.
Definitely clickbait, but still.
It says it all there, though. Literally, like we got from on January 1991. You know that this guy's fully gone into it. But what part do we break down the conspiracy theorist and the facts? And this is why I wanted to touch on this, because this is quite a major thing. Like, I see it come up on TikTok. I thought I'd bring it up. I have a bit of a laugh about it, because it is it's been going on for years.
It's definitely tinfoily.
Conspiracy.
I think it's tinfoily in the sense that this isn't the sort of thing I've ever really seen in the mainstream media. So it makes you wonder if it's just either one, nonsense, or two, it's being forcibly hidden from mainstream media.
We'll go off a little bit on a tangent here. We had the coronation at the weekend. There's a lot of questionable things that have happened over the course of Prince Charles becoming King Charles III. He's one of the major factors of climate change in this country. He was the first one to push for it.
As in he believes in it, or he's against it?
He was awoke of it.
Because
we need to do something
he's
now.
For it,
he's for it.
Makes sense.
We need to do something for it. But at the same time, he is the one that's... How do I say it? He is potentially wanting to geoengineer our food.
In what way?
Making meat synthetic meat.
Oh, synthetic meat. Okay.
So we require less cows, chicken.
That's an interesting topic, actually. What are your thoughts on synthetic meat?
Yeah, don't agree with it. It's in cyberpunk, isn't it?
Yeah, true. You can barely find iguanas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, would you ever eat synthetic meat? I mean,
I don't know. I suppose you eat it every day, don't you? If you go to McDonald's.
I suppose so. I mean, if you were to be given 2 steaks and you had a bit of both and you couldn't tell the difference, would you really care? Or would you only care if you knew it was synthetic? Because personally, I wouldn't really care.
No, as long as it still gives me the proteins and nutrients. But at the same time, does that mean that we're going to have less livestock in the world?
I mean,
that will then put someone out of business.
It will, although I do kind of think Do
you think times come where we don't need a farmer?
I think we've gotten to the point where agriculture, in that classic sense, is a dying sort of art. I don't think
they're struggling as it is.
I mean, we're in 2023. I don't think in 2050 or 2060 we need farmers. We need labs that are creating synthetic meat. I mean, we don't need livestock in that
I get
sense.
that. It's a very old traditional trade that is struggling anyway. We got the activists that are on their back daily, blocking farm entrances, getting into farms, causing criminal damage. At the second time, we've got the scientists on their back talking about how cows are creating methane, destroying the earth and the ozone. I want to talk about the ozone. Didn't Moses do something that caused something to do with that? I mean, that goes in the fucking Bible. The ozone layer fell in and the massive flood happened, didn't it?
I'm going to be honest, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's in the Bible.
You're going to need to inform me.
That's what the ozone... So supposedly the earth flooded because that was what was the ozone layer around the earth.
Oh, right.
And God thought, I'll teach you all a lesson.
I hadn't come across that.
Flooded the earth and Moses was given a chance.
I'll be honest, I'm the most unreligious person
I've
ever meet, so I honestly wouldn't know.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's supposedly what I was told as a Catholic, as a Roman Catholic. That was what I was supposedly told, that that's what the ozone is. There's probably other fucking reasons out, but that's the religious belief behind it, why we don't have a major ozone layer.
That's interesting. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, every religion's just a cult.
But we can go back millions of years and there were dinosaurs running around. So what part of it's fucking right or wrong?
Yeah.
And going back to all of this, going back to the synthetic meat, what part is right or wrong? Going back to the whole of the chemtrail, going back to Mexico, who's right or wrong? If the Mexican government has said no, it's clearly for the health of its people, and
you definitely assume that they know something that we don't. Go ahead and just ban it so quickly.
Isn't like the Amazon forests and
the
rainforests? The rainforests and all that. They're all over that way, aren't they? Not Mexico, but South America and all that, aren't they?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
No, but I'm pretty sure. So if you're doing that, geoengineering over those parts of the world,
interesting.
I get it in certain aspects. I know that Canada is suffering severely with massive wildfires at the moment. They had a major breakout this weekend because they had a major heat wave. And then the same's happening with America as it is again. Like we had the big freeze coming over in America, and then they've got the big heat now. I get it in some aspects. It may help. Like, could we try and reduce the wood and timber out there from getting too dry? Because I know the humidity goes up, the dryness of the wood goes up, then obviously fires happen from anything. Reflection of glass, or stone or something, the sun.
Oh yeah.
That would probably be a good idea in some areas, but what the fuck is going on in Mexico right now for them to ban it? Are they seriously blocking major infrastructure, or are the Mexican people fucked off? And the Mexican government are like, oh wait, hang on a minute, that's not even our aircraft.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they're just doing it to protect themselves before they know what's going on, or if they know what's going on and they're kind of like, nah, cut that shit out.
Because if you talk to one of these conspiracy theorists about the chemtrails, they will say that the sun is not what it was back in the 2000s.
In what regard?
Oh, the same colour or different colour or something.
Oh, I've not come across
that. No, seriously. People believe that China have made like a false sun and put it in front of it or something. I swear on my life.
I think if you believe that, you need to be in a padded cell.
It's like, serious to God. We talk about the CGI for the moon landing. Did anyone see what the CGI was like during the moon landing? You're fucking horrendous. I mean, has anyone ever seen the original Tron? It's shocking.
It doesn't hold up in the way you think it does.
No, how they did the moon landing. I mean, it probably was staged or whatever. You know, fuck knows.
I'm not.
But
I'm not one of those people that believes it was faked.
that's where it's going, though. That's where all this leads to.
I kind of feel like at this point in the world, there are so many people with so many opinions that conspiracy theories just run rampant in every single conversation.
In every aspect.
And it makes it so hard to have a genuine conversation about stuff.
If you meet two conspiracy theorists and they talk about the same subject, then you know it's factual. If they talk about the subject in two different ways,
that's the thing.
Then you know.
Most conspiracy theorists, even when they're talking about the exact same thing, have a completely different story and a completely different opinion.
Broader opinion.
Even if it's the same opinion, they'll use completely contradictory facts.
It'd be a broader conversation.
That's where I kind of sit there and think to myself, I can't even listen to this shit.
Because if it is fact check, as we call it nowadays, and that would be called false news.
More fake news.
Fake news, as Donald Trump would say. That's fake news,
Do the hands, do the little hands he does. What's he? No, it's like that. It's like
fake news. When does it get to a point where? I mean, we've got two identical photos on Google Images now that says about geoengineering. It's the aircraft of a chemtrail, and then we've got conspiracy theorists. Chemtrail with an aircraft of chemtrails. But I wanted to touch on that because I think it's interesting, especially someone who's never heard of it.
Yeah, I've never even come across it before.
It's fucking wild.
I don't know if I've probably heard the word chemtrails before.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever really thought about what it means.
A lot of people will argue saying that it is, like I said, the temperature meets the atmosphere of the fuel and everything in the air and air mixture and everything like that. I get that. I can see the theory behind that, but isn't the air thinner? So wouldn't we see that all the time, every day, and at night?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
And why don't we see it at night?
That is a good question. I mean, I guess there are a lot of things like visibility, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but you can get good at dusk areas, big open areas that have got less light pollution and everything like that, or more light pollution. You'd be able to see it. We're right near literally right near an airport.
Yeah.
So when they get to their point of descent and then they change direction to level out, why don't I see it? And like last night was a clear night, stars and everything, and I didn't see it. I saw loads of aircraft take off last night, and seeing this the day before, why am I not seeing the? It leaves you thinking.
It does definitely ask questions.
And it definitely leaves you questioning.
Yeah, it definitely makes you ask questions. I'm not caught up on it enough to have an opinion either way, really. But it definitely does leave you with asking a few questions about some of it anyway. You know, making you sort of wonder, like you said, those few things. Why do you see less of it? Later on in the day at night, it does make you wonder. I mean, I'm sure there's.
It leaves you questioning, doesn't it?
I mean, if there is a fully scientific explanation, then please, someone tell us. But
I mean, isn't that what a theory is, though?
More so.
You come up with an answer.
Yeah.
It's not a fact.
Yeah.
And it's not fictional.
Yeah, none of this is fact. I mean, we're not scientists. We don't really know how
We're literally picking on an article.
Like this works.
We're literally picking on an article, questioning it, and then putting our own questions to it, and then we're left dumbfounded because you're thinking, why is that? What, and I seriously want to see if anyone wants to comment on that because it's killer.
It's worth remembering. The reason we do this podcast is because we're just sort of, I guess, two guys with average intelligence just trying to navigate what's going on.
Bitten shit that we've seen in the week.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I mean, this is something that I'd like to see a bit more on because why is Mexico banned it? I mean, we're not getting a lot from it. We're getting why they're blocking the sun, that sort of thing. That I don't really want to be reading.
That's
blocking
very clickbait.
Blocking the sun is some Montgomery Burns stuff, so that he could use his nuclear power to light up the town more, and people require more electricity.
No more solar power.
That I would get. If it was actually true, if it was a nuclear giant doing it, But if this is this isn't just happening in Mexico. This is happening everywhere across the whole United States. This is happening in England. We see it a lot in England, especially on the mornings on the way to work. I leave quite early on the way to work, and all I see in the morning is just fucking lines in the sky everywhere, clouds. How does a plane create a cloud that goes fucking huge?
Like reverse crop cycles.
Chemtrail. Think about it.
Use your brain.
Harry wasn't invited to sit on the balcony, was he?
No.
So the coronation happened this weekend, if no one fucking knew. We did.
Did we care though?
Nah, not really.
One of those things with like the royal family and all that stuff, like pretty much my whole life I've not really given two shits about it, you know? Like, I know there are people that are really obsessed with it and they put flags outside the house and all this sort of stuff.
Like we're the only country in the world that doesn't have a monarchy.
Yeah, and I just sort of look at it sometimes and I think to myself, does it really affect my life in any way, shape or form day to day? And if it doesn't, my general consensus on it is just, fuck it, I don't care.
All I wish they would do is abolish Parliament and he goes back to the monarch. But you know,
back to the monarchy.
We can't fucking have all that, can we? You know, it's not that I find them exciting or anything. It's just I think they'd get rid of those fucking paedophile politicians. But we ain't getting into that. Yeah, no, literally, so that happened at the weekend. Harry was invited to the coronation. People did see that, but there was no Meghan Markle. Oh dear. She was probably working, doing a shift at Starbucks that day. So we're covering on it because I don't have much more to talk about it.
So remember, abolish the monarchy.
Abolish the monarchy. Abolish Parliament. Get rid of it all. Put it back to people.
So, he still doesn't get it. The CEO of Anheuser-Busch, the parent company of Bud Light, has apparently not really understood the issues with the Bud Light campaign. He's blaming social media misinformation and says that it was one post, not an advertisement. But you put someone's face on the can. That's more than a post.
Let's put a fucking female dude on the can.
Like, it's literally, you change the can. Like, that's not, that is an advertisement. Like, it's a marketing thing. You know?
26% down, and he's still blaming social media.
Yeah, 26% drop in sales, and he says he doesn't understand it because it's misinformation. It's like, no. Like, it's not misinformation, is it? Like, he's just obviously got his head in the sand, I think, and doesn't really want to face the issue head on.
It's good to see, though, because obviously we've been seeing more videos as it goes on. In the beginning, people were just literally boycotting Bud Light, then Budweiser. Now it looks like everyone is boycotting the whole of Anheuser-Busch, and it's exciting to see. Brilliant development all over from everyone. Every member of the beer community has literally said, I ain't drinking that shit. And it's even getting to a point now that there are gay bars in the States that are not accepting Bud Light or selling it. Gay bars. Their own kind of turn on them. Their own kind of turn on them. Now, that tells me that they don't want to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
And that they are for the majority of the people. They're not homophobic. They're not against this. But what they're so sick and tired of is it being rammed down their throat and then you put it on the can.
Yeah, you know,
he still thinks the social media is
yeah,
brainwashed everyone.
I think it's worth remembering as well when we talk about this stuff. Like, personally myself, I'm not against it because of trans, gay, whatever. I'm against it because I don't want a political message on the beer that I'm drinking. Like, that's my biggest issue with it.
Never needed it.
Like,
never had it. Never had Uncle Sam. Never had like Boris Johnson on it when he was campaigning.
No, I don't want that shit on my beer. I go out to have a drink to have a good time. I don't want to be having political debates with people, you know?
Talking about it's not even a real woman. You put a woman on the can. It's not even a fucking real woman. Like, what the hell? Like, what were you thinking? Where were you going with that?
It's interesting in the sense that the person they've decided to put on the can is a small minority of the population. So it makes you wonder how many people are going to look at that and then feel...
That's like 2% of that.
Feel left out. So it is interesting. I understand they're trying to be inclusive, which is fine, be inclusive, I don't really care. But, like, why have they chosen such a small minority of people? I think they were trying to do it to seem like, you know, they're on the side.
Yeah, I get that. I get that as a show of support.
But realistically, they're not, are they? They just want to... They're a conglomerate that wants to make money. They don't give a shit.
I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever noticed, but like in this country, everyone called British Gas. British Gas are internal gas engineers, and they also do electricity now. On the sides of their van, very tiny, about probably 3 inches by 2 inches, they have the gay pride flag, right? And it sits in the bottom right-hand corner in front of the rear wheel arch. Look at it, you'll see it. That is a way of showing support. Small flag, we don't need a whole vehicle covered in it because at the same time the company still has to advertise. We've got it with other companies, we've got it with other things. We always see it, like social media's changed to it for 1 month, then they come back off, they go back to their original image. They may do the same for mental awareness, other things like that. That is a way of representing that you show support. I get that, we've got nothing wrong with that. We spent years of people being able to support, fly the flag, do everything. But we're now starting to see on political buildings the flags being hung from it. We're now seeing police officers in our country that are wearing the flag on their chest. You're not supposed to wear anything like that, apart from, I believe it's only the flag you serve under that you basically work for. And that's it. Everyone is so now when you start putting on my beer, I tell you what, if we had put Donald Trump on the beer can, how many people would that have pissed off?
Very good point. Yeah, very good
So
point.
So what they're saying is that they think it's like a social media disillusion of these people that are against it. No, if you listen to a majority of all of us, we were happy for so long of you being who you were, but it seems to be this last end of our time scale that has been going on. It's getting worse. The protests are getting worse. People are getting physically assaulted for having an opinion against the rallies.
Do you know what I think offends me more than anything? I think it's the fact that people who want to rally for trans rights or people who are part of the community, they see these sort of marketing stunts by, companies like Bud Light, or, they'll see the flag on the side of a British gas fan or whatever, and they'll think, oh, that's nice, they're doing their part to support us. And it's like, no, they're not, because they don't give a shit.
No,
like, if
that's the marketing engineer doing that.
If you're, like, delusioned enough to think that a conglomerate like Bud Light gives a shit about any sort of rights,
100%.
You're an idiot. They don't. They care about making money. Like, that's what they do. That's essentially their entire purpose for existing.
Well, it makes you wonder if the woman who did this even ever met him.
Who knows?
They just got him in, did a couple of photos of him, and off he went.
I think the fact that it even says there, the CEO said it was one post, not an advertisement. But you put them on the can, like. And
then you put him in front of him, and then he showed himself with the can.
What are you talking about?
And you were going to roll that out.
You
would have rolled that out. What's happened is it backfired.
Like, that's not a post, is it? That is a marketing.
Yeah.
That's the marketing stunt, basically. Like, and the thing is, they don't care about.
And then Nike did the same.
Yeah,
they put a female sports bra on him, who literally has no tits, and is pretending to do like gymnastics.
That's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, I don't really understand why you'd wear a sports bra if you don't actually need one.
No, and you're advertising it on behalf of women who have breasts.
That's weird, isn't it? That's like me advertising shoes for dogs. Like, that doesn't really make any sense.
That's a fucking good one.
But you know what I mean?
Seriously?
Like, that doesn't, like, that wouldn't.
One, you wouldn't fit in them.
Well, no, exactly. Like, that's what I mean.
And the dog wouldn't even care anyway.
It wouldn't make sense.
But no, it's the exact nail on the head. It doesn't make sense. I think that I tell you what it did, it prevented it happening. It prevented them being able to do the rollout. I'd like to know if these cans are somewhere they're printed, ready to go.
I imagine they are.
They're probably in Dubai.
I imagine there's
wait, what was the World Cup?
Qatar.
Qatar. It's probably sat in Qatar. They probably just weren't allowed to have them out.
Imagine trying to sell those in Qatar. I mean, isn't Qatar a dry country anyway?
It's literally dry, and then you see that, and it's absolutely homophobic as well, isn't it? Like they're
they are, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Imagine that's just too oh wow,
get stoned to death for holding the can.
It might not have been an advertising. It might have not been a marketing campaign, but it was pushed by who was in charge of it. The marketing member who was of it, the CEO or whatever she is, marketing engineer or something. She was a part of it. She was the one that pushed for it. He's there with a video camera being recorded of himself drinking it, talking about how he loves Bud Light. I will not call him a her because he speaks like a he, and I bet he's still aggressive like a man as well.
So many stereotypes rolled into one sentence.
At the same time, and I also want to talk about over the weekend, an American cycle tournament was won by a transgender man.
Yeah, I've seen a few of these things.
$35,000 he got.
I've seen quite a few of these things coming up, and I saw a debate the other day. It was between a man and a woman. I want to say it was Matt Walsh and a lady he was talking to. It might not have been Matt Walsh, I can't remember specifically, but basically he was saying to this woman, if a trans man can enter a sports competition, is that fair? And she goes, yeah. And he says, well, just factually, someone with high testosterone is going to be stronger, have more aggression, be able to
Especially if they're like Trent and all that.
Yeah, be able to like win the sport basically better and easier if they, high testosterone levels. And then that does just create a complete unfair advantage for genuine women who are in the competition.
Worked years.
Yeah.
Absolute years. And then there's a guy who's been doing it for years. He just goes, "Oh, I changed teams now."
Well, that is what happened with that swimmer, isn't it?
On a wig.
There's that swimmer who did it. He was basically a...
Well, South Park did it, didn't they?
He was basically wasn't a terrible swimmer, he's better than me. But in men's competitions, he was coming like, near last. Enters female competition, first place on the podium. Like, that's not fair, is it?
No, not at all.
Like, that's not fair.
He got arms the size of her head.
Yeah.
And he's got legs the size of a torso. And he swims like a ship anyway. And then you've got them, behind. I mean, you can pretty much go back to it. Like, we go to the strong women's competition. It's literally like in South Park when you've got a matey boy who's fucking absolutely dench. And he recognises as a woman.
Yeah. I think the problem is, I was, funny enough actually, I was watching the first Guardians of the Galaxy film the other day, and there's a scene in it when Groot, the tree, he basically tries to grab the wrong person. He grabs this woman instead of this man, and Rocket says, "Learn your genders." And I thought to myself, there are genders. That's the thing. There are genders, and you can't go around saying there are no genders because, physically, biologically, there are.
Couldn't do that.
You
just look at insects and look at animals.
Yeah, and it's going to get to a point where everything is just not inclusive, but everything is just men and women and whatever just all go and do this thing. But then that's not fair, is it?
It'll get to a point in a minute where we won't be able to call it the queen bee of the hive.
Yeah,
we'll have to call it a they bee or something.
It's the them bee.
It's a them bee. We all know where babies come from.
Yes.
The pelvis has been proven.
Mm-hmm.
That the pelvis is bigger on a female to allow for birth. Men cannot have children. And if you're a man becoming a woman, you have to physically have your pelvis taken away from you and swapped, and then have a whole inside of a woman put inside of you. That's everything, the reproductive system.
I think the thing as well is, if you
cannot biologically do that.
If you're, say, a man and you want to become a woman, I don't give a shit.
No.
Do it.
Do what you want.
I don't care. The thing that I care about is the unfair advantage of the people that are gaming the system. And if you're the sort of person who's saying, "Oh, anyone can do anything," you're making it easier for the people who are the bad actors to game the system.
It's not looking good anyway.
Not everyone can't do everything. I can't bench press 500 pounds.
No. But it's not looking good for it anyway because, a 10-year-old girl was raped by a transgender woman in a public toilet or a gymnasium or something in a swimming place.
Yeah.
A man that was a woman allowed into a girls' toilet where they have children and women. What, and you think that's okay?
That's the thing. If you say that anyone can identify as anything, at any time, but that's not how it works.
Well, that's why I think there's a great win over the last week when it was at Florida. They're banning.
I can't remember which. There was a state in the US. They basically banned. I think it's
the use of what you identify as going into, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically and it's also you can't get surgery unless you're over, I believe, 18.
Over the age of 18.
They've completely banned it for anyone under that age. I don't know if it was Florida, but there was a US state that did.
There was a US state that did that, and that's fantastic.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? That's mutilation.
It is mutilation.
It's not correctional surgery for someone. If your daughter or son is depressed, then you go to the doctor and you help them. They go through therapy, counselling, they go through the school, or they have medication. Medication is very harsh at their age, so they probably wait till they're at least over the age of 18, because obviously medication has side effects and ways of dealing with things, and especially hormones.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of that going, especially in the teenagers, lots of confusion going on inside their body.
That makes me wonder as well. I'm 29 now, and there were points when, even a few years ago, I wouldn't say I thought I was something I'm not, but mentally I thought I was a certain type of person, and now 2 years later or whatever, 4 years later, I feel like a completely different person. And, there have been points in my life where, for example, when I used to work out a lot when I was younger, after a workout, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm the strongest person here." But that was more of a delusion than anything else, because, I just felt that way at the time. I think the problem is when you say, "Right now I feel this way, so I want to do it for the rest of my life," that is a pretty short-sighted way to look at things. If you're 14 years old, you've got all these hormones and everything going through your body, and you say, 14-year-old man, you identify as a woman, like that this is not the point to then suddenly get surgery, because of all those hormones and everything. 2 years later, you could completely change your mind, and you can't just immediately go and change the second you think of it, like just so flippantly like that. Because you're going to end up regretting it, and if anything, it is slightly delusional to do it so quick.
No, there is. I've managed to find the list of. I think it was Florida was the latest to add to it.
Okay.
So it's Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, and West Virginia.
I mean, I'm just going to apologise for the way you pronounced half of those states.
Perhaps he was an American. No, as an Englishman.
They definitely don't say it like that.
But yeah, exactly like that. Let's look at them. The list is just going on, and then more are just going to add to it. So this is like your gender affirming. Affirming care.
Gender affirming care.
Gender affirming care.
I mean, it does get
That's
to
before
it's tricky, isn't it? Because there's such a fine line between someone who says they identify as something and someone who's delusional, and it's like, where do you? There's no real solid way of knowing where that is and knowing where that person's at. Like, how do you know if this 14-year-old genuinely will feel like this in 10 years, or if it's just a slight delusion on their part for now?
Guarantee you, if you put a chocolate biscuit in front of one of them and then you put probably a milkshake, it's going to be a hard decision on what it is. Take it to a candy shop and it still doesn't know what it's doing in there. I'll tell you what, kid ain't got a fucking clue what he wants to do with his body. Like, tattoos. When everyone gets a tattoo at a young age, everyone's a teenage brother's like, oh wow, when can I get one? 18.
There's a reason
Smoking.
for that.
Oh, when can I get that? 18. Ear pierce, though, you can get that at a young age.
Yeah,
as long as it's
you can get
parental
an ear piercing
supervised.
as a baby.
Yeah,
That's fucked.
Exactly.
I've literally seen like 3-month-old babies with ear piercings, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you do that?
When does it get to a point where it's like, okay, maybe that's wrong? Can't tell these people. They're in the courthouses protesting. I mean, look at them. Stereotypical. Stop healthcare ban on trans. Protect trans rights, save trans lives. I mean, when does it get to a point where it's just wrong?
I'm all for protecting trans lives, but the problem is I don't want people who are mentally unstable
I mean, why is
or
the lead
delusional.
singer from fucking LMFAO in there?
He's actually dressed like him as well. I don't think he wants to be identified.
No, yeah, he literally is like, and we got looks like PewDiePie. It's definitely not PewDiePie. No.
I would assume likely not.
But look at it. Yes, I get it, but they're under the age. It's got nothing to do with protecting. You're protecting a child at that point. You're protecting a child from making a bad
It's
mistake.
like I said, like when...
Not all, but some are coming forward now saying they've made a major mistake.
Yeah,
I'm not saying everyone
no.
is.
I mean, I honestly don't... Like, I'm all for, like, protecting trans lives, like, of course. The thing I don't like are people that are mentally unstable or delusional being...
And violently protesting.
Being
breaking
sort
buildings.
of told, yeah, you're right, you should do this, when really they should be protected as well.
It's brainwashing, isn't it? It's brainwashing a young age into something that doesn't need to be dealt with yet. It doesn't need to be, we're talking about serious operations, and not just that, there's also medication they put children on so they stunt their puberty and everything like that, stop them from growing. That again, we look at, has got very bad health implications down the line. You want a healthy child when you create a child in this world. You want, and you get told by that doctor or that nurse, whatever, when they deliver your child, it's a nice, healthy baby. Those are the words that should stay with that child till it leaves the nest.
Yeah.
So literally, they go off and they want to create their own life and everything. If you're seriously taking your child for an operation, like because he doesn't like that he has a penis.
And he's like 14
And he's
years
like
old.
14 years old.
And you're like, yeah, son, just chop your cock off. That's a good idea.
I'm not being funny. Get him to get on Fortnite and have a battle pass and let him play that, because that would be the more worrying thing if he wants to be a stormtrooper in Fortnite or if he wants to play as the guy from the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the problems you should be getting with your children. But I want this, but I want that. Not, Daddy, Mummy, I feel weird.
Do you think there are
Why am I growing boobs?
Do you reckon there are a lot of parents who struggle with just saying no as well? So they're like, no, I
Massively.
want you to, sort of figure this out on your own. And of course you want your kids to figure stuff out on their own.
And how many parents do you think that could be the ones that saying, actually, I want our child to be different? You identify transgender, and then it's that one child in that whole classroom gets the attention of everyone.
Have you seen that woman in America who, she's got, I believe, 3 kids, and she says all 3 of them are trans, right? Now, I was watching an interview with Jordan Peterson the other day, and he was saying that, I believe the actual sort of, I don't know the exact number, but the percentage of trans people in America was so low, it might have even been under 1%. And he was like, statistically, if you've got 3 children, it's statistically unlikely any of them would be trans, let alone all 3.
Yeah,
and it's
that's
like
a high probability in that household. How?
That woman is forcing it upon them.
She must be getting them to watch like YouTube videos.
She's literally like she's telling them that they're trans. They're not telling her.
No. Because that would not happen.
Statistically, completely, almost impossible.
You're now looking at like a household that you could probably have like 1% of it in the whole state, maybe. If that's how it's looking in the whole of the United States, you're not going to have that. Your one child isn't going to be that one child that become that 1%.
It's crazy that there are parents like this woman who are like she's pushing it on her kids because she wants them to be different.
She's woke.
Like she wants them to be different to everyone else, so she's forcing it upon them, and they don't even really understand.
Woke parenting. If you're woke, you would seriously have to think about it. You should let your child have its own decision. If it wants to become that, then you tell them they can dress like one, they can party like one, they can go out like one.
Yeah.
But they're not having anything done to their body, because there's also the fact of like going through teenage years. Everyone's confused. They don't know if they're gay, heterosexual, or bisexual.
Well, yeah, of course.
And then when they get to the age of 20, they're like, do you know what? I actually hate men. I like women. And
you're like,
voila.
When you're that age, like teenager, 14, whatever, like you're still figuring out literally everything, Still going?
Yeah, it's still going.
Like, when you're that age, 14, you're still figuring out everything. I mean, I was basically figuring out how to be a human being at that point, let alone a man, woman, whatever.
Trying to figure out how to take 2 thin bits of Lego to put apart before they gave me that little tool,
Yeah, exactly.
Playing Call of Duty when the next Call of Duty was going to come out. What was it going to be like? That was my thought process. And then I left school.
And some people would say, yeah, that's a narrow view of the world, but realistically, that's all you should be writing about. That's how children think. Like, children have a very, small, underdeveloped mind.
Yeah, like broad imagination.
But you trying to force some way of being on them is just, that's almost child abuse.
It is. It goes down the line. It is child abuse. It goes down the line of it, doesn't it? It's the fact of that you want your child mutilated on your behalf.
Yeah, you want them to be different, so you're pushing it upon them. Like, there's one thing I can't, like, the one thing I can't stand with parenting is the sort of parents you see who try and push their beliefs and their shit on their kids. Like, the parent really wanted to be a basketball player when they were young, but they were shit at it, so they forced their kids to play basketball 12 times a day.
Yeah, and he hates it.
And it's like, mate, fucking hell, leave him alone.
100%. It's a narrative that's being pushed and pushed and pushed now, and you can see it. I mean, you've got them dancing around naked in front of the fucking school children in schools. Those are not those are paedophiles in disguise.
I would imagine some
full-on paedophiles in disguise. Then when they found out that they were going to cancel it in Florida or something, or California,
that
Pride
was
March,
fucked, wasn't it?
because they won't be allowed to do naked stripping in front of the kids. How and wait, so you stopped the whole march because you wanted the paedophiles to have a bit.
Also, you want to get your dick out.
And also, if you want to find out more about that, that's on our previous episode. Which we're uploading just before this one. Yeah. We cover a bit on the pedo flag.
Yes, we do.
But anyway, that leaves us on this subject today. And we're going to wait for the phone to charge. And we're going to chuck out some more.